Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another 2024 election prediction video. Today we're going to be talking about a prediction that I've actually never done before. Some of my predictions I have done before just because over time they change. But today's video, I've never done this prediction before, and honestly it is a potential possibility. Bernie Sanders has not took it off the plate for him to run in 2024. Whether he would run if Biden did or not, I kind of doubt he would. But obviously, it's fun to look at what if scenarios. I know a ton of people have commented and are like on some of my videos that may not be as likely as others. You know, maybe a Nikki Haley versus or not Nikki Haley versus Ron DeSantis. I'm sorry about that. Nikki Haley versus Biden or somebody like that. I know a lot of people have commented and are like, well, Nikki Haley isn't the only candidate, and I would totally agree, and it's a valid point. And I just tell them to visit my channel because I make plenty of videos, and a lot of these are just for fun to see what different candidates would do like, what they would perform like. So yeah, let's go ahead and get in today's video. Today we're going to be talking again about Donald Trump, former President Trump, versus Senator Bernie Sanders for a matchup. And I'm going to go ahead and, while talking, I'm going to go ahead and characterize some states for both candidates, safe states, and then we'll start talking about likely states and things like that. So let's go ahead and start by characterizing some of these states, and then we will go ahead in today's video. Sorry about that. We'll go ahead and do that. So overall, these are our safe states for President Trump. And we'll go ahead and get some safe states for Senator Sanders. So actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and characterize those two. Illinois, safe state for Bernie Sanders. And we'll go ahead and characterize these states as well as pretty safe for Bernie Sanders. Overall, I think he would win majority of these states pretty easily. So following that, we're gonna go ahead and start talking about. Also, I'll characterize Maine's first district as safe Democrat as well. So overall, this is our current map. I need to go ahead and characterize Nebraska. I'm sorry about that but leave out the second district. So overall, this is the map that we're looking at with safe states for both sides of the aisle. And obviously, we have plenty of states that we have to go over. So we'll go ahead and get into the rest of the video for, likely states, lean states, and tilt states. So let's go ahead and with likely. Oregon is a likely Democratic state. I think that it won't go to a margin of 15 plus. I mean, if we look at historically speaking, Clinton only won the state by 11 points. 2020 was an exception. Biden won it by 16 points. Going back to 2012, Obama won it by 12 points. So I think that would continue. I think Trump wouldn't win the state of Oregon, obviously, but I think it'd be much closer than people may have thought it would have been given the 2020 presidential election results. The next state that we're going to talk about is the state of Colorado. So the state of Colorado, if we look at historically, Clinton won it by 4.9 points. 4 years later, Biden wins it by 13.5 points. If we go back to 2012, Obama wins it by 5.4 points. And then 2008, he wins it by 9 points. So overall, we see that the results are much closer in years prior, and I give that no exception in this case. I mean, Colorado was 0.1% from going to a likely Democratic state in 2016, but didn't, obviously, for factors we see now. But I do believe that Bernie Sanders would win the state more on a likely margin for the Democrats. The next state that we're going to talk about is the state of New Mexico. So the state of New Mexico, if we look at 2016, Clinton wins it by 8.2 points. 4 years later, Biden wins it by 10.8 points. And in 2012, Obama won it by 10.1 points. 2008, Obama won it in a safe district or safe state, 15.1 points. So overall, I think New Mexico will still go pretty solidly for the Democrats. It will be more of a likely margin if I was to guess. So let's go ahead and characterize the state of New Mexico. The next state that we're going to talk about, though, is the state of Iowa. So Iowa is one of those states that in years prior has leaned more towards the right. Republicans have done traditionally well in the state of Iowa. No exception here. I think that Donald Trump, if we look at if we look at the state in 2020, it went to Trump by 8.1 points. 4 years earlier, went to Trump by 9.4 points. So it narrowed it out a little bit. Obama wins it by 5.8 points. So no exception here. I believe that Trump would win it on a likely margin. The next state we're going to talk about is the state of Texas, 40 electoral votes. And if we look at the state of Texas, 2016, Clinton wins, or sorry, not Clinton. Trump wins it by 9 points. 4 years earlier, Romney won it by 15.8 points. So that narrowed out a lot. And then if we look at 2020, Trump wins it by 5.6 points. So I think he will expand his margin in Texas going into the 2024 election, and I think that it will stay as a likely state. I don't think it will go as far as to say that it's going to be a safe state, but I do think it'll be a likely Republican state. The next state that we're going to talk about, though, is the state of South Carolina. If we look at South Carolina, 2016 went to Trump by 14.3 points, and 4 years later went to Trump by 11.7 points. So I think it's safe to say that this will be a likely Republican state based off of years prior. The next state, though, that we're going to talk about is the state of Ohio. So Ohio, if we look at it in years prior, like I say always, 2012 we'll start there. Obama wins it by 3 points. If we go 4 years later, Trump wins it by 8.1 points, flipping that state hugely, and Trump wins it by 8 points this past year, or not this past, but 2020 in the 2020 election cycle. So I think no exception, Trump wins it again on a likely scale. I think that he'll have a pretty solid victory in the state of Ohio. The next state, though, that we're going to talk about is the state of New Hampshire. The state of New Hampshire did go to Obama by 5.6 points. 4 years later, went to Clinton by 0.3 points. Barely went to Clinton, and 4 years later went to Biden by 7.4 points. So here, I think that we see the state of Ohio as one, or New Hampshire. I'm sorry. I think we see the state of New Hampshire as a state that went to Biden by 7.4 points. I think we've seen a lot of shifts from those anti-Trump voters in 2020, and I think people see where the country is at today's state. But I don't think that Biden would win it by 7.4 points. I think it's going to be more of a lean margin, for the Democrats. So we'll go ahead and characterize it there. Okay, the next state that we're going to talk about is the state of Virginia. Somehow I left that off earlier. But the state of Virginia went to Biden by 10.1 points. 4 years earlier went to Clinton by 5.3 points barely. 4 years earlier went to Obama only by 3.9 points in 2012, and 4 years earlier went to Obama by 6.3 points. The last time it went to a Republican was in 2004 for Bush, went to him by 8.2 points. Kerry only got 45.53% of the vote. So obviously Virginia has trended blue, as we can see. I don't think I could go as far as to say that it's going to be, maybe a lean Democratic margin. I don't think so based off of years prior. I just don't see that happening. I think it will be more of a state that is I think it still will be a likely Democratic state. I think that's safe to say. I think the Democrats will perform well in the state of Virginia, but I don't think they'll get that 10 percentage gap between Trump and Biden that they got in 2020. So yeah, let's go ahead and start looking at some of these key battleground states. Sorry, I actually forgot to characterize Hawaii earlier on in the video, but I will characterize it now. So let's go ahead and talk about the state of Minnesota. So if we look at Minnesota, this state is actually very interesting. Went to Obama in 2012 by 7.7 points. Went to Clinton only by 1.5 points. And just 4 years later in 2020 went to Biden by 7.1 points. So no exception, Minnesota has trended blue in the past few years. I think no exception here. I don't think that we can say we're going to go as far as Clinton, like a Clinton margin. I don't think that Trump is going to have that much of a chance of winning in the state of Minnesota. But I do think that it's fair to say that Minnesota still will go blue on a likely Democratic margin. So the Democrats win Minnesota on a likely margin. Let's go ahead and talk about the state of Florida. So if we look at Florida, 2020 went to Trump by 3.4 points. 4 years earlier went to Trump by 1.2 points. 4 years earlier went to Obama only by 0.8 percentage points. And Florida went to Obama by 2.8 points in 2008 during his first cycle. So I think it's safe to say that Republicans are trending more red in the state of Florida. People are excited to get out and vote for the right in the state of Florida, and I think that will be no exception in the 2024 presidential election cycle. And I don't think that Bernie Sanders has quite a chance at victory as maybe somebody else would in the state of Florida. So I do think that this will be a state that goes to the Republicans on more of a likely scale, and that's maybe hard to say for some people, but I do believe that Trump could win this by above 5 percentage points. So I think that's safe to say. The next state that we're going to talk about is the state of Nevada. So if we look at Nevada in years prior, we can see it went to Biden by 2.4 points. Same thing in 2016, went to Clinton by 2.4 percentage points. 4 years earlier, went to Obama by 6.7 points. So obviously can't go as far as to say that a Republican's going to win in Nevada this year, in the 2024 election cycle. But I do think it's safe to say that this state is getting closer. And I do believe that it will still be a lean Democrat. I don't think it'll be a tilt, but I do believe it will be closer to that 1 percentage point than it ever has been in years prior. So that's what I will stick by on my prediction in this. So the next state we're going to talk about, though, is the state of Arizona. So if we look at Arizona in the 2020 election cycle, Biden only wins it by 0.3 percentage points, the second closest race for Biden in 2020. 4 years earlier, Trump wins it by 3.5 percentage points, and 4 years earlier, Romney won it by 9.1 percentage points. So obviously, I think that it's safe to say that Arizona is trending more Democratic, as we've seen in the 2020 election cycle. But I think that given the circumstances that we're in the country, I think that it will vote red in this upcoming election cycle. I don't think it will be by a huge margin or anything like that, but I do think that it will go red. I think that we could see it go red on a scale of maybe, Trump winning it by more of a tilt Republican margin. I think that would be pretty safe to say. I think it would be a very close race if I was to guess, and I think that is safe to say on certain circumstances. So the next state we're going to talk about, though, is the state of North Carolina. So if we look at North Carolina in years prior, 2016, Trump wins it by 3.7 points. That margin gets even closer in 2020, wins it by only 1.3 percentage points. So I think it's safe to say that Trump does win the state of North Carolina on a likely scale. I think that it will be more of, a lean scale for the Republicans. I don't think it will be as close as some people may expect, but I do think that it will not be, a 5+ victory for the Republicans in the state of North Carolina. The next state, though, that we're going to talk about is the state of Wisconsin. So if we look at Wisconsin, the third closest state in the 2020 election cycle, went to Biden by only 0.63 percentage points. 4 years earlier, went to Trump by 0.7 percentage points. So I think no exception, this state goes red in 2024. And I think that we'll see it very close, but not maybe as close as the state of Michigan. So I will give this to the Republicans on more of a lean Republican scale. The next state that we're going to talk about, though, is the state of Michigan. So I do think that the state of Michigan is going to be close, but I don't think it'll be as close as other people may expect. I think the state of Michigan went to Biden by 2.8 percentage points, and if we look 4 years earlier, went to Trump only by 0.2 percentage points, and 4 years earlier went to Obama by 9.5 percentage points. So the state of Michigan is one in which, the Democrats have a fairly good chance at keeping the state if they want to. Now, whether they will focus on that or not is yet to be determined. I don't know that I can go as far as to say that the Republicans will flip it. I mean, if they did, it would be very slim. I mean, we're talking like very slim. That would be a tilt Republican win, not a lean Republican, a tilt Republican. But I don't know if I can go as far as to say that. I think that I think that Bernie Sanders will win the state of Michigan by a tilt Democratic margin. And I think that's pretty safe to say. Even though I don't think Bernie Sanders is the best candidate to run, I still think that the Democrats have a pretty solid chance at winning the state of Michigan. And I'm sorry if earlier on in the video I said Biden. I apologize. about that. I'm trying to film this video very quickly to get it uploaded quickly. So yeah, I apologize about that if I have said that before. But the state of Pennsylvania we'll look at next. If we look at Pennsylvania, went to Biden by 1.2 percentage points. 4 years earlier, went to Trump by 0.7 percentage points. 4 years earlier, went to Obama by 5.4 percentage points. So years prior, I mean, we look and it's went Democrat almost in every election cycle. The last time that it had went to a Republican was in 1988 before 2016. It went to Bush, the first Bush, by 2.3 percentage points back then. So obviously Pennsylvania is a very close race, but I do think that the Republicans will win it, but I think it will be very close. I think that it will be one in which it's a lean or tilt Republican, sorry about that, for the Republican Party. 19 electoral votes for Trump in the state of Pennsylvania, though. The next state we're going to talk about, though, is the state of Georgia. I think Georgia has a pretty good chance at going to the Republicans. Biden only won it by 2.2 percentage points in 2020. 4 years earlier, Trump won it by 5.1 percentage points. And I don't think it's going to go as far as to, say it's going to be a super big victory for the Republicans in the state of Georgia. But I do think that it will be more of a solid victory than some people may expect. So I think we'll go ahead and characterize that as, again, one of those tilt Republican states. So it looks like that is the end of the video. I want to say I missed a state because it's showing there, but maybe I didn't. I'm not sure. If I did, oh yes I did. I'm sorry. I almost forgot about it. So the next states that districts we're going to talk about is the second district in Nebraska. I'm sorry, I can't speak right now. So if we look at the second district in years prior, 2020 went to Biden by 6.6 percentage points. Trump won it by 2.2 percentage points in 2016. Went to Romney by 7.1 percentage points. So I do think it's going to go to the Republicans. If we look at that, I think it will be a close race, but I think it will be more of a lean Republican. The all district of Maine, if we look at that, then in 2020, it went to Biden in a pretty solid win. Biden won it by 9.1 percentage points. 4 years earlier, Clinton won it by 2.9 percentage points. And 4 years earlier, went to Obama by 15 percentage points. So I think that the Democrats will hold on to this. I don't think that it will be as close as it was in 2016, but I don't think it will be as far left as it was in 2020. So I do believe it will be. A likely Democratic district. The two electoral votes to represent the whole district of Maine given to the candidate. I do think that it will go to the Democrats on a likely margin. So that closes out today's video. Let me know what you think down below. I do think that the state of Michigan could go red very well, but I do think that it's fair to characterize that as a Democratic win, as we've seen that Biden won it by a pretty solid margin in 2020. So I do think that that's pretty safe to say overall. So let me know what your thoughts are down below. I would love to hear them. Subscribe down below as well. I would love for you to tune into other videos. Hit that bell so you can get notified anytime I upload. Check out the Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter link below so that you can stay up to date on all of the social media platforms. And make sure to join the Discord server down below as well so that you can communicate with other people and other election people just to see what their thoughts are on the 2020 elections or 2024 elections, 2022 midterms, and others. Those all are linked down below. I would love for you all to join. But that closes out today's video. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next election prediction video.